Hi, and welcome to Season 4 of the Amateur Battle League. Today we'll be kicking off the Season 4 draft. It will be a 2-day event spanning across today and tomorrow. Before we begin, there's some very important stuff we want to address. The Amateur Battle League has a strict zero tolerance policy for any sort of discrimination, whether it be racial, sexual, religious, by disability, or any other means. Season 4 of the Amateur Battle League has also introduced the entry fee. Every single one of our coaches listed here today have donated $10 into an entry fee, which has then in turn been massively collected and donated towards Black Lives Matter. Today and tomorrow, you can do your part by purchasing ABL merchandise off of the Teespring store, listed in the link down below. You can buy merch such as this t-shirt right here, ABL Season 4, and all proceeds collected throughout today and tomorrow in the Season 4 draft streams will be donated towards NAACP, which is a legal defense fund fighting towards racial justice. Now that that's out of the way, we want to make sure you enjoy Season 4 of the Amateur Battle League, so let's get this draft started. Alright, ABL Season 4 draft is about to begin. Here is how things are going to work. Basically what we're going to be having is 12 teams drafting one by one. Now, there are draft transactions in this draft. At any given time, coaches can trade draft positions or Pokemon that they have already drafted amongst themselves. Each coach will have 2 draft transactions, so it'll be very interesting to see if any of them decide to use it. And then let's talk about the draft order, shall we? The draft order is going to be as follows. We have the Boston Red Claws, that is my own team, going number 1. Then we have the New Jersey Brobats, coached by Root, which is a brand new team, coming in at second spot. The Vancouver Corviknights, the MVP, the guys that made a playoff last season as a backup coach, are going to be at position number 3, so it'll be very interesting to see what they pick, being so high up in the first few picks. Followed by the Honolulu Toros, coming in from ABL Miners, that is coached by Guza. It's going to be very interesting to see what they pick, having been the first of the batch of teams here that have experience in ABL tiers, because ABL tiers only kicked off in ABL Minors. Then we have Copenhagen Canines, the champions of Season 3, coming in at position number 5. They opted out of bringing Pokemon, carrying over Pokemon from Season 3, so they're going to be starting fresh. They will not have a Charizard, they won't have anything, so they're going to be starting fresh. It's going to be interesting to see what they pick up at their first pick of ABL Season 4. Then we have the Dashing Dittos, which did a really good job in their inaugural season, Season 3. They had a really strong season, maintained themselves in the Beta division the majority of the season, followed by the Lansing Leafeons at number 7. Lansing Leafeons having the highest overall rating of all teams in Season 3. Overall ratings is basically a combination formula of your wins, losses, kills, deaths, and performance overall. They are up at the cap at 99 overall. Followed at position number 8 by the Cuernavaca Cyndaquil, the instructor himself. This is the one team that has always instructed their own Pokemon and somehow managed to almost make it to playoffs. Very threatful team. It's going to be interesting to see, though, at number 8, if they can salvage any good Pokemon picks or not. Anyways, and then moving on, we have the Herkimer Dreadnoughts, which is another team coming from ABL Minors. It's very interesting. 2 teams coming in from Minors here, and probably going to be picking up Dreadnought, I'd assume, just because of their name, and the only team here that could probably pick Dreadnought, pick one. Anyways, then we have Boston Grambles at pick number 10. That's another Boston team. They're coming back from Season 3, being a playoff participant as well. The Boston Grambles are probably going to have some solid picks, and being so low, they get a very good wheel opportunity at the number 10 slot. Then at number 11, we have the Minnesota Berserkers, which is a brand new team coming in out of nowhere, just like the New Jersey Brobats. So it's going to be very interesting to see at position 11 how they use that slot, because they can, in theory, pick their mon and then pick again. So it's going to be very interesting. And then we have the second place, the runner-up of Season 3, the undisputed Araquanid Master, the St. Hubert's Castaways at position 12, and they will be a threat with a wheel pick. So again, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Castaways draft their mons. How this is going to work basically is each team will take a turn to pick, like we've said before. It will be 12 rounds, so total 12 Pokemon. We're not covering them all today. Today we will only have the first 4 draft rounds. So it's going to be a very long draft. Today will be the first 4 draft rounds, if I'm not mistaken. But tomorrow it'll be a high speed, bam, bam, bam. This is what they're drafting type thing. So first 4 rounds begin now. Put 1 minute on the clock. I am the first team to pick. Let's talk a little bit about last season. So last season, the San Juan Frokies had a Dynamax captain of Snorlax. And San Juan Frokies now Boston Red Claws. What else can I say about this team? Last season, very, very slow team, very dependent on speed swapping and very dependent on Trick Room. Didn't really use Trick Room, definitely did a lot of speed swapping. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they pick. I personally, being the person that drafted, no, so I can't really say. But whether it's restricted, Gigantamax, it doesn't matter. It's going to be a very, very interesting pick for sure. So let's go ahead and see what they're going to pick at 20. We can say maybe Zeraora to mitigate that speed, maybe Mewtwo, maybe Mew, maybe Mew. Mew's a very good Pokemon, versatile, fits anywhere. We got 10 seconds on the clock, and the pick is already in. Let's go ahead and see what the Boston Red Claws drafted. And the Boston Red Claws draft Magearna. So again, very good pick, if I do say so myself. Ha 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 ha. Again, this is really, let's talk about this for a second. This is really awkward, isn't it? Anyways, I picked Magearna. Now we get serious because after this, it's not me anymore. Anyways, I picked Magearna. Magearna being a very, very solid pick, I believe, being a Steel Fairy type, it does give us access to a lot of different things, of course. Magearna does give us the opportunity to Trick Room, gives us the opportunity to use the Soul Heart ability to go ahead and just take or abuse the fact that Pokemon are going to faint on either side. So again, Magearna is a very solid pick. It's going to be very interesting to see what it's paired with. This first round might be a little bit faster, and since it's just me, it's going to be a lot faster. But again, Magearna, I believe, is a very good pick and is very versatile. So now we put the minute on the clock for the next team, which is going to be the New Jersey Brobats. Now, the New Jersey Brobats. This is a brand new team. They have a minute on the clock. I have no idea what they're going to draft. I would say probably a Gigantamax Mon. If you're smart, being a drafter here, you can draft a Gigantamax Urshifu, have that as your restricted Pokemon, then turn around and pick up another restricted Mon turn 2. That kind of, you'd have to wait 12 picks, so I don't know if that's what they're going to do. I don't know what type of drafter they are. They might be a slower drafter where they take a little bit longer. But again, everything's on the field right now. So this is very up and about. It could be anything. And we're going to definitely see what type of battler the New Jersey Brobats are with their first pick, because it's doubles format, and depending on what they pick, we know if they're going to go to a little bit hyper offensive, a little bit more defensive, a little bit more, I just want to see what the field is like, what everybody else drafts like. So again, I would say a restricted pick is probably more of an offensive threat, and anything below that is more like I just want to get a feel of how everybody else drafts. And with that, the time is up. Let's go ahead and see what the pick is going to be for the New Jersey Brobats. And they go ahead and pick up Eternatus. So again, that's going to be a very, very, very threatful Mon. That Dynamax Cannon move is not banned, so it is very usable. This can't Dynamax or Gigantamax or anything like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Eternatus is going to be used by the New Jersey Brobats. This thing is a threat. With that Dragon Poison typing, Fairies aren't really going to be doing a lot of damage to it. It will do a lot of damage to Fairies, however. And this is very, very threatful. A Dragon type hits it very hard. This thing is just annoying for the most part. Psychic types do really good against it. Again, not really much can be said here until it's paired with something because it's a doubles format. But Eternatus just on its own, it's just good overall. So again, I'm going to be very interested to see what their next pick is going to be. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Let's put up a minute on the clock for the Vancouver Corviknights now. If you guys don't know, the Vancouver Corviknights, they came in, I believe, top 4 last season. Yeah, last season was top 4. Vancouver Corviknights being a very, very smart team. Torn is very, very, very good at what he does. You know, he came in as a backup coach last season, and he said, this is the team that I got, and now I'm going to make it work. And he made it work all the way up into playoffs. So I've seen him play in minors. We've seen him play in minors. In minors, they had a team of Duskmane Necrozma. So we could probably put that out of the table. They probably don't want to bring up Duskmane Necrozma again. Being the type of battler they are, I would see something with more offensive power in the restricted tier, or they might be the person to pick up the Urshifu round 1 from the Gigantamax tier, and then technically double dip in restricted mons. And I think that might be a safe bet, where they would feel out everybody else and then pick a restricted to actually counter everybody else. But with that being said, again, we're running out of time. They're about to set their pick in, and the pick does go in, and it is going to be none other than Zacian. So the Vancouver Corviknights pick in Zacian. Very, very menacing Pokemon. Zacian, like you guys know, has the ability to boost its attack by 1 when it comes into the field. So just leading off Zacian with such a good speed stat, such a good attack stat, such a good special attack stat. Again, crown forms are banned here. No crown forms for either Zacian or Zamazenta. But Zacian being the round 1 pick for the Vancouver Corviknights is going to be a threat, because there's not anything you could necessarily do to a Zacian right off the gate, out of the gate, to just say, hey, am I going to hit it with a poison type? Is that what you're going to do? This thing hits like a truck. So again, Zacian is going to be very, very annoying. You pair this thing with anything that has any sort of ally swap, follow me, or ally switch, follow me, or anything that can misdirect your moves, it's going to be an issue. Quick guards, wide guards are going to be an issue. Again, this thing's going to be annoying. And I think that's a very, very solid pick from the Vancouver Corviknights, if I do say so myself. Let's go ahead and check and see what the next pick, the next team is going to be doing. 1 minute on the clock for the Honolulu Toros. Now, the Honolulu Toros playing in ABL minors. I'm going to be honest actually here. I haven't really caught up with the Honolulu Toros directly, but the board is open. Again, round 1 is so hard, but the board is open. They have the experience in the tiering format for ABL. Out of anybody here, they have the experience. The Vancouver Corviknights are in minors as a sort of like a testing the waters type thing, but the Honolulu Toros are the tier experts, I want to say, in the sense that they actually from day 1 had to deal with tiers for ABL minors. So with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised for them to go for a restricted mod to just make sure that they pick something that they actually want to build around. Again, I don't know why no one is picking Urshifu from the Gigantamax and then just double dipping later. There's more than enough restricted mods to do that. But let's go ahead and see what the Honolulu Toros pick, because they have submit their pick. And they go with Melmetal. Okay, so this is going to be a bulky boy. Double Iron Bash is a very, very good move. It is available here. We're not banning that either. Again, Melmetal is going to be very annoying. You pair this thing up with a good Trick Room setter or a Speed Swapper, we might have an issue. Special defense is a little bit lacking though, so you could still potentially go ahead. If you set up a Trick Room, you might open up the door for your opponent to set up a Torkoal and go for that Eruption. Solar Power Charizard is still going to be a threat to this thing. Again, Melmetal is really good. Definitely not the worst pick. Not at all. Again, it is pick 4. But I dare say there were probably better options than Melmetal. But again, I'm not trying to say it's a one-horse pony or anything. It just depends what you pair this thing up with. Should you have like a Trick Room set, this thing might be very good. So we'll see what the rest of the picks, again, like we said for every other pick so far, it definitely depends on the rest of the picks. So Melmetal is definitely going to be a very interesting choice here, and hopefully they make it work. So we'll see what the next pick is going to be. We're going to go on over to pick number 5 right now. Pick number 5 is going to the Copenhagen Canines. Let's go ahead and set up the 1 minute on the clock. And let's do this. Champions of Season 3 literally know how to work the DSS system to a T. They started in Gamma tier, went to Beta tier, went back to Gamma or something like that, and made their way up to playoffs, just barely in the Beta tier. Insane. And then their team was set up to play like in a VGC format, best of 3, so they did extraordinarily well in playoffs. However, this is now a 6v6 full-on throughout the whole season draft. So they might draft a little bit differently. Again, as everybody's going for restricted, I'm just going to go ahead and say they're going to go for another restricted mon. Things that would be good for them, probably something that can manipulate speed, something that has a lot of power. I wouldn't be surprised if they just stick to Gigantamax tier and pick up Charizard again. It did wonders for them in Season 1 and Season 3. But with that being said, we'll just have to wait and see. And the pick is in. So let's go ahead and see what they drafted. And the Copenhagen Canines drafted Necrozma Dusk Mane. This is going to be a very big threat. Is an issue. What else do you have? You have the ability to use Trick Room. I think this gets Automatize, Shift Gear, one of the two. Just boost this thing's speed. You could speed swap it if you wanted to later. It doesn't matter. This thing is a very, very big threat. Bug types don't hit it very well. It is that it does have the steel typing, I believe. So again, this thing is going to be very annoying to deal with. I'm trying to look at it and trying to see where they're trying to go with it. I could probably see an Intimidator later down the line to help support this thing, something that can access Trick Room without it being this Pokemon. It could definitely come down later down the line, something with speed swap capabilities. So maybe one of the Raichus is definitely fast, an Alakazam maybe. Very good pick. This thing does a lot of damage, and the fact that this thing is already, it's strong and bulky. So again, it's very, very good to see this pick go, and the Copenhagen Canines probably definitely one of the better teams to pick it. So let's go ahead and go for pick number 6. 1 minute on the clock for the Dashing Dittos, and Dashing Dittos in Season 3 did great. It's going to be very interesting to see what they picked, though. They didn't make playoffs. They did play against a lot of strong opponents. They played against Kyle A and the Miami Dawn fans. They played against the champion team. They played against the Maryland Terrapins. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Dashing Dittos do, honestly. And I got to say, I think they have the potential to make a very, very shocking first-round pick here. Everything is open on the board. You can still draft a lot of these very good Pokemon. Mewtwo is still open. Mew is still open. Jirachi, Celebi, they're decent, but they're still open. Any of the Swords of Justice, they're all open. The Kyurem Black, Kyurem White are still open. There's a lot of very good Mons here. And at this point, you might even consider just picking a Gigantamax because you're almost guaranteed to pick a good Mon later. And with that being said, their pick is in. Let's go ahead and check and see what the Dashing Dittos drafted. And they have picked none other than Terrakion. So a Sword of Justice goes here. Probably trying to go for a justified set, potentially. However, big disclaimer here, there's a beat up clause in effect where you can't beat up on purpose. Just because it's not VGC, there's 6 Pokemon instead of 4. So a beat up onto Terrakion would be maxing out its attack stat. So that is in fact banned. So it's going to be very interesting to see. However, it's still a very good Mon because you can switch it into a Dark type move and still take advantage of that. Terrakion overall is still a very good Mon, a very strong Mon as well. You set this thing up just a little bit and it's already doing massive damage. You set up a Tailwind maybe with it, maybe set up a Speed Swap with it. This thing is going to be massive. Rock Slide from this is Stab Rock Slide, potentially trying to get a double flinch. If you did set this thing up, it's going to be massive. Again, it's still a really, really good pick. A Rock Fighting type is also very good. So very good pick from Teichichu and the Dashing Dittos. Let's go ahead and see what the next pick presents. Pick number 7. Put 1 minute on the clock. The Lansing Leafeons are next. So 1 minute starts now. Lansing Leafeons, the best overall team from Season 3 at 99. Again, they outdid themselves. So with that being said, what would they draft? I think this might be the team to pick up the Urshifu, please. Please pick up the Urshifu, bro. Anyways, Nick and Kyogre, Nick and the Lansing Leafeons, outstanding team. They usually always drafted Galvantula, as we've seen. They've drafted Galvantula a lot. Leafeon is their mascot. That's too early for any of those 2 picks. I think this might be the team to pick up an Urshifu. If not Urshifu, probably Mew, Mewtwo, or a Kyurem, maybe a Kyurem. So again, I think the Lansing Leafeons definitely probably going to go for a strong pick like that, where it's restricted no matter what. So if it's not a actual restricted tier Pokemon, it'll be Urshifu. But I definitely feel like they're going to go for a restricted Mon, and Lansing Leafeons probably definitely know what they want to build around already, seeing how everything has been picked, and they're almost at the wheel. But with that said, the pick is in. Let's go ahead and see what the Lansing Leafeons drafted, and they have gone with none other than the ABL mascot itself, Mewtwo. So the Lansing Leafeons drafting Mewtwo. Hopefully they're trying to get that the logo luck. You know what I'm saying? The Pokemon that's on the logo getting the luck for the win. Anyways, Lansing Leafeons have an updated logo, as you guys can see on the 2 sides here next to my face. Mewtwo. Let's talk about Mewtwo. Mewtwo's really good. Mewtwo's really good, and Double's really good. No Megas, of course, because this is not Sun and Moon, or X and Y. But Mewtwo is definitely very good. Special Mewtwo, you could do a physical Mewtwo. Psy Strike is very annoying to deal with. If you get any sort of screens on Mewtwo, it can be very, very annoying. Again, Mewtwo's really good. I love Mewtwo. Mewtwo's a very, very versatile Pokemon. It's only weak to Bug, Dark, and Ghost. And this thing is going to be really good. I just want to see what he wants to pair it with to kind of get an idea of where this team is going. But again, Mewtwo is just such a solid pick. I'm surprised it hasn't gone sooner. But again, Mewtwo, very, very good pick. Let's go ahead and move on to the next pick, shall we? All right, so let's put 1 minute on the clock here for the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils. If you guys don't know about this team made it to playoffs as well. Coached by Soy Salamonster, this team was a team that would instruct itself all the time. So again, a very interesting team, even though they didn't make playoffs. They barely made playoffs. Even though they're such a misinstructed team, they played really well. So again, their first pick is going to be very interesting. Everybody's going restricted, so let's just go ahead and say they're going to pick a restricted Mon. What would they pick? I think their team fits well with. I think they did a really good team with, or had a really good team with Trick Room. So I wouldn't be opposed to them picking a slower Mon or something that could set Trick Room. Maybe they pick Mew. Because Mew can do everything, basically. So they might want to pick Mew. They were also the ones that put Sableye out in the radar last season. So they're not afraid to pick Mons that people wouldn't necessarily pick right off the bat. And with that said, they do have their first pick set and ready to go. Let's go ahead and see what the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils have drafted. And they get Marshadow. That, again, they are the wild card team because they draft so differently. Marshadow's good. I'm not saying that in a bad way. Marshadow's a really, really, really good pick. That ghost fighting type is really good. It's strong too. So again, Spectral Thief is going to be annoying too. So people can't really. Okay, so it's like an anti-setup team. I like it. I like that pick a lot from the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils. Marshadow is just really good. It does get Shadow Sneak as well, so they get some priority there. Again, Marshadow is a really good Mon, and honestly, I think this is one that probably went under the radar for a lot of people. But I'm surprised, like for example, we haven't seen Zeraora go yet. There's Rising Voltage, guys. Anyways, very good pick from the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils, but let's go ahead and see what they pair it with. So let's move on to the next pick before we have any more thoughts on it. All right, 1 minute on the clock for the Herkimer Dreadnoughts, coached by Image Tortuga. Anyways, they've been in ABL Minors, so they have some more experience with the tier system. They might go based on their team. I'm gonna say these guys are just not gonna pick restricted, pick up Gigantamax Dreadnought, but hopefully they get their mascot, really, because Dreadnought, and there's a Gigantamax Dreadnought, so you can take full advantage of the team name. But with that said, they've been doing great in ABL Minors. They have a pretty decent record. I do know that. And I strongly believe being so low here in the draft order, they can go ahead and just pick anything at this point. And it's basically, from here on forward, you're basically just guaranteed a sort of wheel. Even if it's just like a few picks after you have to go ahead and pick a wheel. So again, I think anything they pick is going to be almost guaranteed to be able to synergize with their next pick. So it'll be interesting to see what they do based off of that. And their pick is actually in. So let's go ahead and see what they drafted. Their pick is none other than, let's go, Urshifu Rapid Strike. So the first team to pick up an Urshifu did not pick up Gigantamax Urshifu, which is great. Anyways, Rapid Strike Urshifu. Definitely water, so I think we're gonna get so I don't know. Urshifu Rapid Strike is really good. With its signature move, none of that is banned. So the signature move always crits. It's going to be annoying to deal with. It's going to be definitely annoying to deal with. And if you have Mimikyu probably can't even take that hit. It's a three hitting critical hit all the time move. So it'll knock off your disguise and then hit you twice. And if you're, oh my god, this thing is going to be massive. Urshifu Rapid Strike's really good water type, really good fighting type. You get some good moves onto this thing. This is a really good pick, actually. I like it because it's so far in. It's so far in that he can just pair it with like Drizzle, or pair it with anything else that he wants to pick. Something with Tailwind, maybe. This thing's already decently fast. So I like the pick. Definitely a very good pick. Let's go ahead and see what the next team picks. All right, the next team is none other than the Boston Grambles. 1 minute on the clock. Boston Grambles made it to playoffs last season. This is a really good team. They did have Gigantamax Lapras last time, so they might go for Lapras again. They did really good. They had double speed in the sense that they have Cinderace and Dragapult last season, and those two Mons together were so troublesome to deal with because there was like the speed tiers were covered with those two Mons basically, and if you were battling against them, it was an issue. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go for something like that, potentially something. I'm trying to see what's left on the restricted side. I would at this point I would personally just be going Gigantamax tier. Because you're guaranteed to pick your restricted next turn if you want, and nobody else can pick more than one restricted. So you could just forget about the restricted and just pick it later because they're at this point essentially just guaranteed for you to pick. But I don't know. Round 1 is always so hard to see where these teams are going, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just went restricted with everybody else. Just go with the flow. And with that being said, you know, their pick is in. Let's go ahead and see what they actually drafted. It's going to be very interesting. Let's go ahead and see. So they actually picked Jirachi. Okay, so Jirachi from the Boston Grambles it's a very good pick. This a Steel Psychic type, dark, being weak to dark, being weak to ground, being weak to fire. It's a very interesting pick. I could see some Serene Grace shenanigans trying to get a lot of flinches with this thing. Ironhead Jirachi could be annoying. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can see some flinch hacks coming forth with Jirachi. And some decent support. It could do some good stuff. I like the pick. I don't know necessarily if I would pick it. Like I said, at this point, I'd probably just be waiting for my restricted later down the line since every team is only guaranteed one, so you can't even use your free pick to pick up another restricted. So at this point, you're pretty much guaranteed to pick whatever restricted is left over that you want. So again, good pick. That's just the way I would personally go about it. I want to see what it's going to be paired with, however. That's the more interesting part, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and move on to the next pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Minnesota Berserkers, which are the next team here. Team number 11 to pick. Pick number 11. We're already at 11. Wow. Okay. Minnesota Berserkers, right? Let's talk about this team. They're brand new. We don't know how they're going to want to draft. I would probably, at this point, just say, hey, they're going to go restricted like everybody else, and they're just going to go with the flow. If that's said, I think a very good pick for them would probably be Reshiram. Or Kyurem, black, or white. It doesn't matter which Kyurem they're trying to go for, or Reshiram or Zekrom. Those are honestly really good picks. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to pick like Solgaleo Lunala either, because those are decent mons as well. I would just personally probably, as them, probably go for like a Kyurem, like a black or white. Either one of those two Kyurems are really good to build around, so I wouldn't be surprised if they pick that. But with that said, they actually picked. So let's go ahead and check out their pick. Teams are on it. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. They actually picked, Rillaboom, Gigantamax Rillaboom. Okay, so they sniped me. I was actually trying to get Gigantamax Rillaboom on its way back, but that is a really good pick. Rillaboom, as you guys know, gets access to Grassy Surge now, and it gets Grassy Glide. So this thing has a priority move off the bat, and it's a terrain setter. In doubles, terrain is so important, and I like that he picked this because it gives me something to talk about here. He could build a team around Rillaboom right now, right? And Grassy Surge is so good of an ability. In doubles, there's a few things that are really good. If you get a weather setter off the bat and a terrain setter off the bat, those two are really good because you get so many boosts out of it. You know what I'm saying? You can resist some moves. If you have Mystic Terrain, you resist dragon moves better. Like they get nerfed down. You get weather, you increase your power. Some moves don't miss. So again, Grassy Surge is good because it just keeps giving him that HP. Rillaboom being such a good mon. Gmax Drum Solo will ignore, I think it's the abilities of the mon. So again, this mon is just so good. Now with the buff that I got with the terrain. Also, if you get a mon with expanding force, no, not expanding force, it's a terrain pulse. If you were to pair this with, like, let's say Clawitzer gets a grass type pulse move now. So again, it's really interesting. I want to see what they build around with this mon because again, Rillaboom is such a good mon for doubles. It's definitely a really good pick. I'm surprised nobody picked it. Anyways, let's go ahead to the next pick. With 1 minute on the clock, the St. Hubert's Castaways have a wheel pick, so they're going to be picking two Pokemon back to back. So 1 and 2, bam, bam. They're the runner-ups of Season 3. This is a very, very, very scary team. They were kill leader and #1 spot the whole season up until the very end. And then obviously in playoffs, it didn't really go their way, but they made it all the way to the championship match. And this team is going to be very, very, very scary. They meticulously draft Pokemon. If you looked at the Season 3 draft and saw their draft, you were probably just wondering, like, well, that team doesn't really look that good. But when they put it in a doubles format, their team was actually really scary. So I'm afraid they might do the same thing again this season, where they just meticulously draft a very, very scary team and people just don't know how scary it is. With that being said, they actually already submit both their picks. So we're going to be having a back-to-back pick here. And let's go ahead and see what the St. Hubert's Castaways drafted. So for the first pick, they picked up Lunala. Oh my goodness. All right, so they picked up Lunala for the pick. I believe Lunala is quad weak to ghost types, but it does have a very good ability. Lunala being a good mon, it has access to wide guard, so he can use his restricted mon to go ahead and set up wide guard to protect whatever mon he wants to put next to it from any spread move. So again, that's a very smart defensive mon. I think it's a defensive restricted mon, honestly, and it does get really good moves. Lunala's a really good pick, honestly. I want to see what he pairs it up with. And his second pick, his wheel pick, is actually right here. And it's none other than Gigantamax Snorlax. So I had Gigantamax Snorlax last season, and I could tell you this thing is really good under the right circumstances. You set up Trick Room, you set up its belly drum, this thing can start sweeping. You speed swap with it, this thing can start sweeping. Snorlax is also very annoying because of its gluttony ability and its Gmax move. Just picking up those berries again and just continuously recovering. You could also run a recycle set with Snorlax if you don't necessarily want to run the Gigantamax form of it, which I would honestly recommend 100% of the time, unless you're trying to just like lower speed or something. But you can run a recycle set, a curse recycle set on Snorlax, and it's just as annoying. So again, really good mix up here, really good team. I like the Lunala Snorlax combo. I'm really curious to see what he pairs up because he does need some other mons here to make this thing work very well. So I'm going to be very interested to see what else the St. Hubert's Castaways go ahead and pick. This is just a good duo right here. Anyways, let's go back over since we know now that the Minnesota Berserkers are on deck. All right, put 1 minute on the clock for the Minnesota Berserkers. They drafted Gmax Rillaboom before. So I was saying before they picked that, maybe like a Kyurem, Reshiram. I'm going to go ahead and say the same thing. But now that they have the Rillaboom with the Grassy Surge, I wouldn't be opposed to them picking up like a Mew. Mew gets access to a lot of good moves, and you could get some added benefits. I don't know. I think Mew's a good combo to go with Rillaboom. And you can teach it any move you need, really, to support Rillaboom. Or vice versa. I don't know, man. This is going to be really interesting to see here. And you guys do see a pupper out in the back. Don't worry about that. But with that being said, they have 20 more seconds. I wouldn't be opposed to them going for like a Kyurem Black, Kyurem White. I feel like those are just good. But the fact that he has such a strong Gigantamax, I wouldn't be opposed to them like picking up a Mew just for support purposes, or even Celebi. But anyways, they've got their pick in already. Let's go ahead and see what the Minnesota Berserkers have drafted. And they pick up Reshiram. There we go. Awesome. Anyways, they pick up Reshiram. That's a really good mon. That's a really good pick. Dragon Fire, and then they have the Grass with Rillaboom. I wouldn't be surprised if their next mon is like a water type to fill up one core already, and then try to deal with the other core later. Reshiram's really good. Is it Turbo Blaze that it gets as an ability? I like Reshiram a lot. I just don't necessarily... Looking at it a little bit more, I don't know what the game plan is. Maybe filling a core and setting up another one, potentially. Again, I'm going to need one more pick here to just figure this out. But again, Reshiram is just annoying as a whole because you have to hit it with a ground type move, right? And then Grassy Terrain nullifies the grass type move, Earthquake, for example. It makes it weaker. So, and then Rillaboom resists ground. So again, really good combo there. That's a combo right there, as you guys can see. There's probably other things that they're thinking in mind. I don't know. But I do like the pick. Not that I don't like it. I just really want to see where they're going with it a little bit more in depth because, again, this is definitely interesting. Let's go on to the next pick. The Boston Grambles have a minute on the clock, and they had just drafted Jirachi. So with that being said, I would probably think they're going to go for like a flinch set, which honestly, you can pair anything with right now, like realistically. But if you wanted to cover any sort of like the weaknesses, you could still get Charizard. You could get Gmax Charizard to, deal with the fire types, even though I'm tracking, right? But, you just get that fire type that's a little bit better. You can set up Sandstorm with it, with Max Rockfall. And then basically what you do with Jirachi, Max Rockfall, Jirachi doesn't take any residual damage. And then you also give it a special defense boost, so those fire type moves are weaker. And then in a different round, you could probably draft Torkoal or something, or Sunsetter, and go ahead with that. I don't know. That sounds really interesting to me. That's what I would probably do. But I don't know what they're going to do. Let's go ahead and see, because they already submit their pick. Let's go ahead and see what the Boston Grambles drafted here. And it's going to be none other than... very close, not what we wanted, and not what we expected. But they picked up Blastoise. I guess it's the same concept kind of applies here. If you have fire types, Blastoise can deal with them, and anything that's not a water type is going to take residual damage because of the Cannonade. Again, Blastoise is really good pick. I was actually, I'm not going to lie, I was looking at Blastoise after Rillaboom was taken, just because I wanted to use Cannonade, just because the name is amazing. But again, that still works. Blastoise gets access to Shell Smash, so that's annoying. That's definitely very interesting because Jirachi can get Serene Grace and potentially flinch you as you're going for that. That's an option, of course, not the best way to set up Shell Smash. But again, Shell Smash and then going into Gigantamax Blastoise is a very big threat. Probably even more of a threat than Charizard going for Solar Power in the Solar Power Sun Charizard. Definitely very good pickup from the Boston Grambles. Very excited to see what they're going to do with it. Very excited nonetheless, but Blastoise is just a threat. I believe it gets Flip Turn as well now, so I might be wrong about that. But again, Blastoise is just bulky, good. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Definitely need a little bit more speed here. A little bit more. Jirachi's okay, but something a little bit more consistent in speed, and this team's already looking like a threat. All right, let's put in 1 minute on the clock for the Herkimer Dreadnoughts. They are next, and I honestly have to say, hey man, if you're not drafting a Watermon to support your Urshifu, we might have an issue. I think Pelipper is a really good pick. Politoed's a really good pick for this team. I believe they could also... The thing is, if you pick either one of those two, forget about your Gigantamax for now, because you still have a chance, but people can use their free pick to pick up Gigantamax Mon. So I might not be opposed to them actually picking a Gigantamax right now, but a Rain Setter would be really good for Urshifu, in my opinion. You could get Pelipper probably better than Politoed for this, because you could set up Tailwind as well. So now you have a Tailwind. That way Urshifu outspeeds almost everything. And then you also have the boost of Water, so that Rapid Strike move is going to be really good. And buffed. So again, I think that might be safe. It's going for Pelipper. So let's go ahead and see as they already submit their pick for this pick. And they go for Dreadnought. So Gigantamax Dreadnought. Dreadnought's picked Dreadnought. So it's a win-win. And they picked up Gigantamax Dreadnought. Again, now this almost guarantees to me that they are trying to pick a Rain Setter next turn, next pick. Because they already have two water types. Dreadnought has the Swift Swim ability. Urshifu's already decently fast. Again, like we said, we were saying this before. I'll say it again now. You pick up Pelipper and you have the Tailwind access. Sure, you could pick up Politoed, but Pelipper is the one you want because Tailwind, Rain, these two things will outspeed anything already, plus get that boost. Dreadnought gets G-Max Stone Surge, so you set up rocks on top of that, plus the water boost because the water move. This thing is already looking dangerous. Weak to electric though. So let's find something to close that gap. It's probably something with Lightning Rod, but this is already super, super good. Very good drafting in part of the Herkimer Dreadnought. Surprising that nobody's sniped. It might be a little bit harder now when people see that they got two water mons and something that if they set up Rain is going to be scary already. So they might get sniped, I would say, if people are like malicious. But we'll see what happens. But this is so far a really good team. I'm very excited for this team because it looks like a fun team to use for sure. Let's move on to the next pick. Now we put up another minute on the clock for the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils. We're back with them. They picked Marshadow last time. I would probably go ahead and say they pick a Gigantamax. That seems to be the trend here with everybody. They pick honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they even opt for a trade. Just to trade their position. I don't know if they traded, because the way it works, you could trade the round before and then, it goes into effect this turn. So it would go into effect whenever the person traded goes. I wouldn't be opposed to them trading their position and just trading their position, have another team go ahead and pick here, and they can just go ahead and pick later down the line and just wait it out. Because honestly, Marshadow fits with a lot of mons. If not that, maybe something they could set up screens. I don't know what Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl will be good, and it gets a Prankster. So I think Grimmsnarl is a good set to pair up with this Marshadow. So let's go ahead and see, because their pick is in fact. Let's go ahead and see what the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils have drafted. And they draft Lapras. Oh my goodness. So Lapras is really good because it does set up the G-Max Resonance. And paired with Marshadow, it's going to be very annoying to deal with, honestly. I like that. Because screens that's not bad. That's actually not bad. Lapras alone is just such a good Gigantamax Pokemon. You could give it a weakness policy. It becomes even more annoying. That's a really good pick. Does Marshadow get Psych Up by any chance? Because you can Psych Up on the Lapras. I don't know if it does. It might not. But I'm just trying to see what options there are here. Lapras is a really good support mon. You can Perish Song with Lapras as well as a last resort. If you could find something to trap mons in, that would be pretty interesting. But again, Lapras is such a good mon in doubles and such a good Gigantamax mon overall. It does get access to Water Absorb. So if he wants to battle like Herkimer or Dreadnoughts, as we just saw, Lapras is a really good bring. It also gets Freeze Dry. So Freeze Dry will do really good. Oh my goodness. Lapras is good already. So if the Herkimer Dreadnoughts draft draft Dracovish, Lapras is going to be a very good mon to deal with that. That's definitely a very good pick from the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils. Again, not something you would like put together right off the bat, but that's a really good pick right there. Let's go ahead to the next pick and see where we're going with this. Another minute on the clock, and this turn is going to go to the Lansing Leafeons. Now, Lansing Leafeons, very interesting team because they are just so smart and ahead of the game, I want to say. Or at least for the third season they were. I wouldn't be opposed to them just skipping the Gigantamax tier. I really want somebody to do something different and go straight into the S tier before somebody else gets a chance to go into it and pick whatever you need from there. Looking at Mewtwo, you can get a lot of things. You get Incineroar from the S tier, have an Intimidate mon, make it to where Mewtwo takes less damage from physical dark type moves. Other mons in there, not really much from the S tier that I think they might want to pick. Maybe like a Toxapex for defensive builds. So I guess that would be pretty interesting. If they go Gigantamax, like the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils, maybe Grimmsnarl for screens, just for support. But other than that, there's other mons you could pick from Gigantamax tier. All the Charizard's still open, Venusaur's still open. So, with that said, their pick is actually in. So let's go ahead and check and see with the Lansing Leafeons as they pick their next pick, and it is none other than Grimmsnarl. So Grimmsnarl is, again, I thought this would go right before this pick. So again, really good pick from the Lansing Leafeons. Grimmsnarl can set up screens, can, as a prankster, do whatever it needs to help Mewtwo, and of course, any other Pokemon that gets drafted after this point. It also gets access to Fake Out. It could be a bulk up set. Light Clay with this thing could be really annoying as it sets up its double screens. I like the Grimmsnarl set a lot. It's definitely going to be interesting to deal with. And you can't really Brick Break on Mewtwo. It does no damage, so you just be Brick Breaking just to break screens. So I like this set. I like these two together. Bug types, definitely a big what if here, but definitely I like it. Even if you bring a Steel type to take on Grimmsnarl, Mewtwo gets access to Fighting type moves. So again, it's going to be really hard to deal with regardless. And then obviously he's probably going to want to close up this tight group a little bit better as he continues to draft. So again, I like the squad here. Very, very good pick. I believe the Lansing Leafeons were the ones to have Grimmsnarl in Season 3, so they probably already know how Grimmsnarl works, which makes it even better for them because they're more comfortable with this pick. So let's go ahead and move on to the next pick, which I believe goes to the Dashing Dittos. 1 minute on the clock for the Dashing Dittos. They picked Terrakion last time, so they could potentially go for something with Tailwind to boost Terrakion, something with Speed Swap to help it, something with Guards, something with Togekiss for redirection, but they also haven't picked their Gigantamax. So if they were to pick a Gigantamax, they'd probably be something that could resist a lot of the things that would make or do great damage to Terrakion. So I wouldn't be opposed to like a Grass type. Flapple would be good. Appleton would be good, although slower, it would be good. So I wouldn't be opposed to something like that. Venusaur is good, but then Psychic is still weak to both, or they're both going to be weak to Psychic, which is okay. I don't know really. I wouldn't. The thing is, like, beat up is banned, right? The beat up clause is in effect where you can beat up, but not to yourself. So that's going to be an issue as is, because you can't really pair it with Whimsicott. And I would just say go ahead and pick up Whimsicott. But pick is in. Let's go ahead and see what they actually picked. And it's going to be none other than there's a Venusaur. So, okay, Venusaur. Quad, so not quad, but they're both weak to Psychic. Venusaur's a really good mon, though, because, again, now you trap mons in, or not trap, but any mon that's not a grass type will continuously take damage every turn. So, Venusaur's really good. You could give Venusaur weakness policy. Venusaur does good in the sun, so this is actually not a bad pick from Taichichu, because Venusaur is really good. And if you get something that can set up the sun like Torkoal, or even a Prankstermon that gets Sunny Day, and honestly, Whimsicott could still be a good pick here because of that. Whimsicott does get Prankster. I believe it gets Sunny Day, so you could set up Sunny Day manually, and you could also in theory just Tailwind manually. So Tailwind will help the Tyrakion. So again, it's a little bit too early to tell. A lot of picks ahead, but you know, Whimsicott could be a good pick for this team, and Venusaur Terrakion actually works really well. So I like the pick. I honestly think there's very good potential here. Definitely need some things to close it out a little bit better, but there's some good potential here for sure. 1 minute on the clock for the Copenhagen Canines. I like that name, Copenhagen Canines. Anyways, 1 minute on the clock for the Copenhagen Canines. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. They picked up Necrozma, Duskmane. So it's gonna be interesting what they pick. Gigantamax tier. I can't say you'd pick Duraludon. Alcremie is a good pick. Alcremie is a really good pick because you think about it, right? You can't get taunted, so now you can do anything you want with the Duskmane Necrozma. You also get access to Decorate, which is great. And if you set up a trick room, not with Alcremie, but you know, if you set up a trick room overall, Alcremie is good in speed, and then you can also Mystical Fire and lower special attack, so you don't have to worry for the special side of Duskmane Necrozma. I think that's a really good pick for them. I would probably go Alcremie, and with that, their pick has actually already been made. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. As they pick up the Cinderace. All right, so the thing with Cinderace here is it doesn't have the Libero ability. Libero is banned, so I don't know how good that puts Cinderace as a Gigantamax, because all it does really is just just ignore your ability, basically. It doesn't change its type, so it's gonna be interesting. I guess the boost is always nice. I'd say speed boost from like a flying move, set up weather with your fire move, or you can't even set up weather with your fire move. It change into the other one. Okay, so it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting for sure for Cinderace as a Gigantamax. I don't know how I feel about this pick. He might have not known that Libero was banned, so there's that. But anyways, with that being said, let's move on to the next pick. It's an interesting pick, but let's move on to the next pick. One minute on the clock for the Honolulu Toros as they come in and start drafting. They need a Gigantamax Mon. I think to pair with Melmetal, it's going to be hard. I probably use the same reasoning. Alcremie could be good. Alcremie could be good to boost that attack and just make Melmetal stupid. But something that would probably work well, they could pick up a Charizard, honestly, and trap some Pokemon with fire. Blastoise has been taken. Inteleon could be good just to deal with the fire types that might want to come in and deal with the Melmetal. Inteleon could be good to counter that. The Sniper Tower, the Sniper is good because you get increased crit. So you could give it like a Scope Lens. Scope Lens Inteleon, which it's not Sniper. Is it Sniper? It might be Sniper. I don't know what the ability is. It might be Sniper. Scope Lens Sniper Inteleon and boost that critical hit chance could be really good. Snipe Shot already has high crit ratio. That might be it. I don't know. We'll see. Time's up. Let's go ahead and check out their pick. As they pick up Indeedee. Wow, they went all the way down to A tier and picked up Indeedee. So they definitely value the Psychic Terrain a lot. They value the Misdirection. So I don't know what to say. It just has to be a Trick Room set, because the only way you usually dive this deep into Indeedee off the bat and then have a slow mon like Melmetal is you want Trick Room set up, right? So you would usually just follow me, set up Trick Room, and then go ahead and do whatever you want to do. I think that's what they're going for here. They're going, hey, I'm going to bring up Indeedee and bring up a good Trick Room setter, set up Trick Room. Melmetal's going to do some havoc. I think that's the plan here. And then you could always just follow me and just not have Melmetal get hit unless you get like a two-sided hitting move. Interesting. I think it's a little bit too early for Indeedee, though. That's the only thing I have to say about this pick. Not that it's a bad pick. I think it's just a little bit too early for it. I think they could have just picked something a little bit better from the Gigantamax tier. But that's just me. That's a really good pick. Interesting pick. I mean, it's again, it's a good pick. It's just a little bit too early in my opinion. Let's go ahead and move on to the next pick. Moving on to the Vancouver Corviknights. They got the 1 minute on the clock. They picked up Zacian. And here's the thing, right? I know what they're going to pick. Not just because this draft already happened, but I know what they're going to pick because I know the type of person that Torn is, Tornado. No one has picked up Gigantamax Urshifu, right? So why have we not done this when you can get 2 restricted Pokemon? This is why, like, the first pick is really hard because I would totally do this. Would I have been anywhere else in the draft, I would have picked up these 2 restricted Mons. I'm not going to lie. I know it's going to be Gigantamax Urshifu. In fact, the pick is already in. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the inevitable. The Vancouver Corviknights drafted Single Strike Urshifu as their Gigantamax Pokemon. Now they have 2 restricted Pokemon technically. Now, Urshifu is really good. This Gigantamax Urshifu is really good. Now, there's a big issue here, and it's the fact that they still have a free pick to pick up a different Gigantamax Mon if they want. This is such a good pick overall. Single Strike Urshifu, it's weak to Fairy. You have Zacian right next to it. It's gonna be tough. They're both really good in speed. The only way you outspeed these two is by setting up Trick Room. So again, a good thing about the Honolulu Toros that just picked before this is that they are inevitably going to be a Trick Room team. This team so far doesn't do that well in Trick Room. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Double Iron Bash from Melmetal might do good damage on Zacian, but then Urshifu's in there. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's going to be really tough. The Vancouver Corviknights definitely have the scariest team so far here. I definitely love the Urshifu pick. They definitely sniped me. I'm like 2 picks away. I know they probably sniped the next team as well because we were all just waiting for that to come up, and it didn't. So good pick on the Corviknights side. It's going to be very interesting to see what their next pick is, but this team's already busted. Let's move on to the next pick. So the next team is going to be a 1 minute on the clock New Jersey Brobats. It's going to be interesting to see here. Interesting to see for sure. A lot of the teams have picked Gigantamax Mons. I wouldn't be opposed. Like I was going to say it with Torn, but the fact that Urshifu has been drafted, it changes things. That's why I haven't said you could just skip Gigantamax tier since everybody's picked theirs and free tier, blah, blah. But here, I wouldn't be opposed for them skipping. And I wouldn't be opposed to skipping myself either. Because, you know, after waiting for Urshifu to make its way back up and not making it back up, I think it definitely, like, sucker punches a lot of the people waiting for that Gigantamax pick. So with that said, I wouldn't be opposed to them skipping. But then at the same time, they could just pick something. They picked up Eternatus round 1. Probably something that can resist Psychic. I don't think there's much left. But again, it's going to be interesting to see. Let's just go ahead and see what they pick. So it's probably something that resists Psychic. Let's go ahead and see that. And their pick is in. They have actually gone ahead and not drafted a Gigantamax. They drafted Tyranitar. So they set up Sand. They got the Dark type, so they do resist Psychic. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what the Tyranitar does. Tyranitar as a Sandstream setter is really good. Weakness policy set, really good. He can't Gigantamax though, or Dynamax, because it's only for the Gigantamax tier. He's not in it. So I think it's a good S tier pick, honestly. Tyranitar has always been dominant setting up weather, and that special defense boost is also good for Eternatus because it gives it a small special defense boost, the Sand. So I think it's a really good pick. I definitely know it's a really good pick, actually. And again, skipping the Gigantamax here, not a big deal here because, again, everybody's, for the most part, has picked theirs, and they're probably going to set out to pick the rest of their team now. With that said, let's go on to the next pick. I have 1 minute on the clock. All right, guys, so a little bit more of a breakdown. This is like a draft analysis for me at the same time since I'm the one doing the majority of this talking here. But anyways, I was waiting for Urshifu to come back up, honestly. I wasn't, obviously, because to be fair, my first pick, I had the mindset that I wasn't going to be able to. My first pick wasn't going to allow me to pick anything that I had to wait for. So that's why I picked Magearna. Going into this next round, as it was making its way back up, I was like, please don't take Urshifu, please don't take Urshifu, please don't take Urshifu, please don't take Urshifu. Oh my god, I'm getting Urshifu, and then Torn got it. So with that said, I had to kind of rethink what I wanted to do, and I have a wheel pick, so it's not like the end of the world. I wasn't like, oh my god, you took Urshifu, but I was like, oh my god, you took Urshifu. So with that said, here is my wheel pick. Let's go ahead and dig right into it. So for my first one, it's going to be Corviknight. I wanted a decent Gigantamax Mon, and I wasn't sure Corviknight would make it back, even with like the majority of people picking theirs already, their Gigantamax, because you could always use a free pick to pick another one is a thing. So I picked up Corviknight just to make sure I got it. I was really tempted to pick up Charizard, though. I really was tempted to pick up Charizard, but I feel like for what I was going for, Corviknight was probably going to do a better job. And not just that, but my second pick was Incineroar, so I didn't want 2 fire types. Incineroar, my mascot, my team mascot, of course. I love Incineroar in doubles. and I used it as my S tier. I'm not worried in the slightest that I took my S tier in Incineroar, because I really value Intimidate, Parting Shot, Fake Out on Incineroar. I could give it safety goggles. I really like Incineroar, and basically the idea here is, so far my team is really slow, and I'm very well aware of that. But the idea here is just the long game, basically. If Mons start fainting, Magearna gets boosts. Corviknight can take hits, and Corviknight is more of a sturdy wall, a sturdy build. You kind of have to build around build for Corviknight when you see it. And then Incineroar is there just to help support and still be very, very problematic. So again, I'm looking at long games, not like this is a one gimmick type team. And that's basically what I'm building here. Hopefully it comes off that way, and let's move on to the next pick. One minute on the clock for the New Jersey Bro Bats, as they have to go ahead and select the pick, knowing that they have the Eternatus, knowing that they have the Tyranitar. I wouldn't be opposed to them picking something with Sandstream. So they might use their free, or not Sandstream, but Sand Rush. They might use their free pick to pick up Excadrill now. And if that's the case, that team is already just nasty. If they pick up, oh my goodness, if they pick up Excadrill, I will probably be upset with this team, because that duo was just so dynamic. It showed to be a problem when Randy had it. Did Randy have those two? I feel like no, they were split. Tyranitar was split somewhere else. He had Gigalith. But the point is, a Sand Rush Excadrill is so powerful. And then just Tyranitar is so powerful that it's going to be very annoying if that's what he decides to do. I think that's a pick here because it gives you a steel type. I don't see him not picking Excadrill and on the free pick. But let's go ahead and see, since their pick is already in. The New Jersey Bro Bats select Chandelure. Cool. Not Excadrill, but a Chandelure. That's fine. I'm not opposed to it. A Chandelure is a really good Mon. Heat Wave hits both Mons at the same time. A Choice Specs Chandelure does massive damage. Speed tier is a little lackluster, and the speed tiers here so far aren't super great. They're not bad, but they're not super great so far. And it's only 3 picks in, so again, very interesting. Chandelure hits both Mons, though. That's the thing. I'm just trying to see what else you're trying to do. Infiltrator? You get No, what do you get? Don't recall. You get Ally Swap, Ally Switch. I always forget the name of the move. I like Chandelure. I just don't know necessarily what the build here is. I personally don't know what the idea here is behind. Eternatus, Tyranitar, Chandelure. I mean, not a bad Mon, honestly. Probably one of the better fire types, aside from Charizard, which again was free. So again, Charizard wasn't even picked here. So it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to be built behind his team. I don't know. We'll move on to the next pick, come back to this one and pick 4 in our final pick for today's draft. And hopefully by then we know what this team's trying to do. If not, I'm very, very... let's see what happens. All right, put 1 minute on the clock for the team that should not be drafting anymore. The Vancouver Corviknights have a next pick now, obviously, because they have to keep drafting. We should just limit them to those 2 Pokemon, and that's it. But having Zacian and having Urshifu, looking at the S tier, I'm over here like, they still haven't picked an S tier Mon, and they can pick anything. They also haven't picked a free Mon, so they can pick another free Mon, and it's going to be even more disastrous. This team is just scary already, way too wild. They can pick anything. They can pick the Excadrill, they can pick up Dragapult, they can pick up Toxapex, they can pick up Clefable. It doesn't matter. They have 2 really good Mons that would benefit out of any pick. But if they were to pick Dragapult, they have a very fast core. So I wouldn't be opposed to them picking Dragapult, and me knowing the pick and me knowing that the pick is up right next. Let's go ahead and see as they go ahead and pick up Dragapult. So Dragapult's really good here with Dragon Darts, because if you protect on any side, Dragon Darts, what it'll do is just hit that Mon, the Mon that didn't protect twice. And if you have like a Fairy type on the side, it'll just hit the Mon that it can hit twice. Dragapult's really good. Phantom Force is annoying. Dragapult could be special or physical. So having Zacian and Urshifu as your physicals, I would almost always see Dragapult being special here. It just depends case by case scenario, of course. Being super fast, this thing is really, really annoying. It also sets up screens. Dragapult's just a really good Mon. That's as much as I can say about it because this team is busted. Let's go ahead and move on to the next pick because, again, broken. 1 minute on the clock for the Honolulu Toros as we make our way into round 3, pick 4. And last time they picked Indeedee. So I'm assuming you need to pick your Trick Room setter now. If you didn't pick a Gigantamax Mon, you picked up Indeedee, pick up your Trick Room setter now because people are going to take it from you. There's options now though, however. It's not just Dusclops. You could also pick up Porygon 2. Porygon 2 with Eviolite, I would dare say, is almost better than Dusclops. It just depends what you're trying to do, obviously. So Dusclops, Porygon 2, very reliable Trick Room setters. Not the only ones, though. So it just depends what type of team they're trying to build here. But Porygon 2, honestly, I would pick Porygon 2. Listen, Porygon 2 is really good. I'm telling you, pick it. Pick it. Pick it. Pick it. Pick it. Let's go ahead and see what Pokemon the Honolulu Toros have drafted. So they go ahead and go for the Dusclops. So again, Dusclops is really good. Indeedee, Dusclops, very, very traditional doubles combo here, where you just follow me, Trick Room. Melmetal would then come in, I'm assuming, and go for double Iron Bash under it being faster. So again, it's a good team. It's a very standard Trick Room team, is what I'm saying. You taunt the Dusclops, you don't have Trick Room anymore. If you speed swap the Melmetal as it comes in, it is now not going to be fast enough to be, or slow enough to be faster in Trick Room. So again, there's a lot of ifs here and a lot of ways to work around this team so far. So I'm very curious to see what the Honolulu Toros do to kind of like fix and patch those holes. Again, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how that is dealt with. So again, let's go ahead and move on to the next pick. But again, a really good team. Don't get me wrong. Really good Trick Room team so far. All right, 1 minute on the clock for the Copenhagen Canines. And indeed, they did not know Libero was banned. So that we now got clarification that they did not know. That's great, because now that means that their Gigantamax Mon probably wouldn't have been that Gigantamax Mon, and it opens the possibility for them to trade that Gigantamax Mon with somebody else later. They can't pick up a free agent in the middle of the draft, but they can trade with somebody else. So draft transactions might be in play. I don't know. We might get a draft transaction. I'm hoping for one, but they actually did not mean to draft a non-Libero Cinderace, so it's going to be interesting. Not that it's a bad Mon, it's really good, really fast, Again, let's see what they might draft next. Knowing that, I might say, hey, they might use their free pick to actually guarantee a proper Gigantamax Pokemon. Or they might just dig into the S tier. And there's still really good mons in the S tier. You might want to pick up the Excadrill and then pick up a better or slower Sand setter later, because they've had Sand in the past. So it might be interesting to see that play out. And their time is actually up. Let's go ahead and see what they picked. And they pick up Togekiss. That's a really good pick. So Togekiss with Follow Me, Togekiss with Heat Wave, Togekiss with Dazzling Gleam, Weakness Policy Togekiss is really common. So in doubles format, Togekiss is like the mon to have. I really like that pick. S tier is a really good pickup on Togekiss. It does get access to Roost. It gets access to a lot of things. I think Togekiss is a really good mon. And then paired up with Necrozma with that Follow Me priority, Necrozma can do some damage for at least a few turns. Cinderace doesn't do that well here because it doesn't have Libero anymore. But again, it's still really good because of speed. So again, good team. Good team. I want to see how Salabgo mitigates that issue that he had with the Cinderace. And if he makes any swaps, any changes, any trades, I'm very curious to see what happens. Let's go ahead on to the next pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Dashing Dittos, and they have Terrakion and Venusaur Gigantamax. I was saying before how they could still pick up Whimsicott. They could still pick it up now. I thought maybe Salabgo would pick up Whimsicott, knowing the type of battler he is, but he picked up Togekiss. Togekiss would have been a good pick for Taichichu as well. So again, it's gonna be very interesting. If you don't pick up Whimsicott, any other prankster would still be good. A prankster that gets access to Sunny Day and Tailwind primarily, because it still fits in those two slots we were talking about. But Sunny Day specifically, because your Gigantamax is Venusaur, you could always change your restricted later, and there's a bunch of free ones now that everybody's picked theirs. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see what they pick, because Taichichu, she has the experience of battling in doubles now, so she knows, hey, prankster is a very, very valuable ability. And actually, here we go. The pick is set. Let's go ahead and see what Taichichu has drafted here. Indeed goes for Whimsicott. So Whimsicott, again, really good pair here. Sadly, you can't beat up on Terrakion, but should you could, would be really great on Terrakion. But however, Tailwind on Terrakion, I would dare say is just as good. And then Sunny Day for Venusaur is even better. Whimsicott does get access to some good moves. This thing would probably always be focus sashed. So it's going to be interesting to see how she pairs up Whimsicott with other Mons other than just Venusaur and Terrakion. Because again, Whimsicott is one of those Mons that whenever it's on a team or it's been drafted, it's probably almost always going to come in a doubles format, of course, just because of Prankster. Fake Tears is going to be really good. Yeah. Charm, those who get Charm, like something lower attack, it's gonna be really good regardless. So Whimsicott, really good pickup. Props to Taichichu, that's a really good pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Lansing Leafeons, and looking at their team as how they have their screen setter in Grimmsnarl, and they also have the Mewtwo. They can go for a lot of things. Everything's open. That's the thing. Everything's open. But honestly, looking at their team, it looks really, really menacing. Just having Mewtwo with Grimmsnarl paired together. Grimmsnarl is already a Prankster Mon, so it can start going for Thunder Wave. It can start annoying you, lowering your stats. It can swagger you, you know, do annoying stuff. It gets Yawn, does it? No, I don't think it gets Yawn. That was Togekiss, my bad. Does it get Yawn? It probably does. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a Prankster Mon. So I wouldn't be opposed to Lansing Leafeons picking something up with a little bit more speed and potentially using that to their advantage. Just probably something with a little bit more speed. Maybe Galvantula. But let's go ahead and see what they picked, as their pick has already been submitted. And they go ahead and draft a Excadrill. They took Excadrill from the Sand teams. Okay, so Excadrill, again, good pick. Really good pick here. Takes it away from the Sand teams. It gives them resistance to Electric, of course. I'm curious to see what they're trying to plan. Rock Slide is always good. Swords Dance is always good. Grimmsnarl can also fake out, so you can go ahead and Swords Dance. And if you are a sashed set, depending on speed and whatever, you can, in theory, still Rock Slide. It's an interesting pick. Screens up helps the defensive stat for Excadrill. So yeah, I like it. It's not a bad pick. I want to see what he pairs everything up with now, or at least Excadrill up with. Mewtwo, Grimmsnarl, really good picks. Excadrill, phenomenal pick, and a good S tier pick, of course. Let's go ahead and move on to the next pick and see what the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils have in store for us. 1 minute on the clock for the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils, and seeing how they have Marshadow and Lapras, I wouldn't be opposed to this team just picking something that does well behind screens, some resistance, something that might be normally fragile and still really good now that screens are technically up. And not like super good, but like Alakazam's good. Alakazam can do good damage. He has Marshadow, which is weak to flying. So maybe like a rock type, or maybe a good rock type would be good here. And then now the fact that you have the hail up, it's also good. Water Absorb is also good, so it defends you from getting hit from water types on the rock slot. So you can just hard switch into Lapras. I wouldn't be opposed. It might be like a rock type. A rock type might be a good fit here. And if not that, it just depends on what Cuernavaca Cyndaquils are thinking. Let's go ahead and see what their pick actually is, though, as it's already in. And it is none other than Politoed. So they're taking a Rain Setter away from the Herkimer Dreadnoughts, which desperately need it. So again, they're going to be stuck with that Pelipper. But let's talk about Politoed on this team. However, Perish Song is a very, very valid play here, and Lapras and Politoed both get access to Perish Song. So I can see the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils just trying to find something to trap Mons in later, like Sturdy, Magnet Pull, Magnezone. What else can trap? Gothitelle can trap. What else? Gothorita can trap. Anything with like trapping moves. Dugtrio can trap. So again, these two Mons here are like really good because you could trap some Mons. This is, I wasn't thinking about it that way, but nice picks from Cuernavaca Cyndaquils. I like Politoed. It sets up Rain as well. So like if you want to pick up another water type later, it's good. Lapras does good in water as well. Water Absorb, water. Oh my goodness, I like it. There's definitely some good synergy here overall. So very good pick from the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils. Put 1 minute on the clock for the Herkimer Dreadnoughts. This is the Rain team. They have the Urshifu Rapid Strike, and they also have Dreadnought, Gigantamax. So again, I think they need Pelipper. And then if not Pelipper, and they really want to risk losing the only other Rain Setter as you throw in, I would say Kingdra, because you get that Dragon type in, you get that Water type, and then you have two Swift Swimmers, and then you could pick up the Rain Setter. If you lose the Rain Setter, you'd probably have to go ahead and pick up a Prankster and set up Rain manually. So I definitely see them having, they have to pick Pelipper now. So I'm going to go ahead and override their time and just force them to pick right now. And their pick is none other than Pelipper. So they do have Pelipper now, so they do have access to Tailwind. They do have access to the Rain. Dreadnought does get Swift Swim. If you do set up the Tailwind, that's phenomenal. And Pelipper gets access to Hurricane as well. So in the Rain, Hurricane does not miss. Hurricane does cover a lot of other weakness, other mons, such as fighting types. So Dreadnought doesn't have to worry about fighting types as much because Pelipper can just Hurricane them. Pelipper is also a really good mon and gets access to Roost. So again, really good. Defog is an option. So again, Pelipper is a really good pickup here. We kind of knew it was going to go that way. So they do have a Rain team. With that being said, no more Rain available unless you manually set it up. Let's go ahead and go to the next pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Boston Grambles as they go ahead and ready to pick their third pick in the Season 4 draft. They have Jirachi and they have Blastoise. So with that being said, I don't know what they want to do because I don't. So I would probably go for something with like Lightning Rod to cover Blastoise maybe, or maybe go for something, I don't know, because these are two mons that are just completely like different. I'd say these two mons that he's already picked kind of like support or go well with other mons. So I think maybe this third pick is what's going to determine, okay, well, these two work together and then these other two work together type of deal. So with that being said, let's go ahead and see what they did draft because I'm very curious with this one. It's going to be really fun and interesting to see for sure. And they did pick up Hawlucha. So Hawlucha does get access to Unburden, so I might see a terrain setter later, maybe like an Indeedee. If they do pick up an Indeedee, they definitely don't get hit by Sucker Punch on Jirachi. They don't get hit by Fake Outs, so Blastoise can actually always set up. And then Hawlucha can use Unburden with a berry, like a Psychic Seed, to get that speed boost. Without that, Hawlucha does have to probably opt for Close Combat and the White Herb to recover those drop stats, and then use Unburden that way. But Hawlucha is a really good S tier mon. You know, you can always go for like a Swords Dance, Unburdened, Acrobatic set, which is wild. Drain Punch is also really good for recovery. Close Combat's good if you want to set up the Unburdened right off the bat. So again, Hawlucha is a really good pick, really menacing. You got to be careful with it. You got to watch it. I like it. I like the picks. I feel like it needs something to synergize them better though, like something to make them all work a little bit better. But definitely a really good pick. All right. Next pick, Minnesota Berserkers, 1 minute on the clock. They have the Reshiram and Rillaboom. So Rillaboom sets up the terrain, which is really good. And then it nullifies Earthquake. So you don't have to worry about Earthquakes now with Rillaboom. This team, you really don't have to worry about Earthquake so far because of the terrain. And then Reshiram gets hit by it, but like it's nerfed a bit. So that's good. Looking at it, I would say probably something to resist ground a little bit better, or rock, or probably a fairy type, because the only weakness that Reshiram has now, like not really like a weakness, but something that would hit it neutrally very well, is fairies. So I would probably pick something that would like a fairy type of his own, or a steel type. I think would be good. But for really early on, so probably from S tier, you might actually even just opt out and just pick up Toxapex. Just pick up Toxapex. Don't worry about fairies. Ground types are nullified a bit better, so that's a good pick. Let's see if they do pick up Toxapex. Toxapex would be good here. I think Toxapex would be really good. They actually pick up Talonflame, so they drop down to A tier instead of S, and they pick up Talonflame. Talonflame's good. Still has Gale Wings. Gale Wings is still nerfed, but it's still good. So priority with flying type moves is good because in theory you get Rillaboom and Talonflame together and they're both attacking first. So Grassy Glide and like whatever grass type move you want or flying type move you want to use, you're just gonna attack first. So again, really good, really good. I like it. There's nothing I can say here except for rock types are very dangerous here because they hit Talonflame and they hit Reshiram really well. So they're probably next pick. They're probably gonna pick something that could take those rock types a little bit better. But so far, I like this comp right here. Definitely, the Rillaboom just makes it so much easier to work with. Let's go ahead with the St. Hubert's Castaways. All right, 1 minute on the clock for the St. Hubert's Castaways, as this is the last time we're going to see them since they have a wheel pick. Again, we're only doing the first 4 draft picks today. Tomorrow we will do the other 8. I know, it's wild, right? So the first 4 draft picks are today. Next or tomorrow will be the following 8 for every team. So with that being said, the St. Hubert's Castaways are a very scary, very, very scary team. I wouldn't be opposed to them picking a lot of other mons that other people might be looking at. Like, I wouldn't. This would be the team that would purposely snipe teams, if that makes sense. So with the team that they have with Lunala and Snorlax, I probably think they're going to pick something with either Redirection, Trick Room, or Speed Swap purposes, and then something to kind of like worry about the rest of like offensive. With that said, good mons are still available. Amoonguss for Redirection. Speed Swap, you have Alakazam or Raichus. Raichus are good. And yeah, that's it. Their picks are in. Their time ran out. So they're going to have 2 picks coming up right here. The first of their pick is going to be that Amoonguss. Again, Redirection is going to be big because Snorlax has to set up the belly drum in order for it to do damage. So again, Redirection is going to be huge. And with that being said, Amoonguss is the king of Redirection. It also has access to Spore. There is a sleep clause here, however. You can only put 1 Pokemon to sleep at a time. So Spore is kind of limited here, which is primarily why I didn't pick Amoonguss off the bat when I could. But again, Amoonguss is still a really good Pokemon because its stats are actually good. Clear Smog gives it the ability to reset any sort of setup. Rage Powder is just annoying. This thing gets Giga Drain, Black Sludge, a Regenerator. So again, Amoonguss is just annoying overall. You need safety goggles to deal with this thing. So again, Amoonguss is a really good pick from the St. Hubert's Castaways, but that's not it. They have a wheel pick. So their second pick is going to be Primarina. So they don't opt for S tier. They do pick up Primarina, which is a fairy water type, water fairy. I think it gets Liquid Voice. Or not Liquid Voice, or yeah, whatever that move is, or that ability is. But it does have Hyper Voice. So you're hitting both mons at the same time. You can also give it a Throat Spray and boost its special attack. This thing is somewhat bulky already, so it's going to be a nuisance to take care of. And it definitely does go good. See, a Steel type here doesn't really do too much damage to that Primarina. And then if you have a Steel type, Snorlax is out there just looking at you like, you ready to just get hit, bro? So I like the team. His team is bulky, and I don't like it. It's like, I have to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? So this is a really good team from the St. Hubert's Castaways so far. And this is it for them today. So again, as we see the team right now, these first 4 Pokemon on St. Hubert's Castaways team, this team already looks like it's going to be just as annoying as dealing with the super hyper offensive team that the Vancouver Corviknights have so far. So anyways, let's move on to the next pick since this is the last round of picks for today. And then again, 1 minute on the clock for the Minnesota Berserkers. And again, like we said before, they have to pick something that deals with rocks. Because that quad super effective on Talonflame is just way too much to deal with. And Reshiram getting hit with rocks as well is way too much to deal with. And with that said, they actually made this pick really quick. They made it right off the bat. No time to take care. Oh, and there it is, Crocodile. Crocodile is really good for it. Intimidate helps. Most of the rock types are physical, so it will definitely weaken those rocks a lot more. Talonflame, I mean, still gonna hurt, but Crocodile definitely an intimidate. And if you hard switch into Crocodile on Talonflame slot, if you're not going for rock slide, you're going for a direct rock hit, like one target move, Crocodile is definitely the monster switch in there. Reshiram also appreciates the intimidate on those rock type moves. And then again, you know, the grassy terrain helps recover any sort of HP that you can. So I like this team. I like this team comp a lot. And Crocodile is really good in speed. Its attack stat's really good. You could also run an Anger Point set. None of these mons can actually hit Crocodile for a critical hit, like on purpose. But an Anger Point set would be really good because if you get that, a Choice Scarf Crocodile with Anger, oh my goodness. So that Jirachi that was up there, the Togekiss that was up there, be careful. Don't hit this Crocodile and try to get a crit on it. So very, very good pick from the Minnesota Berserkers. This rounds up this team for today, however. So it's looking really good. It's really well versed, I would say. And that Grassy Surge definitely does wonders for it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Boston Grambles as they're approaching their last pick for today, pick number 4. And looking at their team, they have the Jirachi, they have the Blastoise, and they have the Hawlucha. All very, very, very good mons. So I don't know what they want to do. At this point, I think they're probably just going for typings. So if they go for typings, they have a dark weakness with Jirachi. They have a grass weakness in Blastoise. And then they have like flying, electric, and they also have more than that, like electric on Blastoise as well. Ground on Jirachi as well. So again, they have a lot of weaknesses, but I would probably say they're going to cover those weaknesses is what I'm going to assume that they're going to go for here. So with that said, probably something that could deal with ground types, probably something that could deal with grass. Anything like that is on the table. They'll probably not go for a free pick. Probably like A, B, C tier. If they go for a free pick, I don't think there's anything there left. And with that said, they took almost all their time, but they're in. They have actually drafted, and they go for Galarian Weezing. So they're going to just nullify everybody's abilities, which I've been excited to see somebody actually use Galarian Weezing. I think this might be the moment, you know. If you go for Hawlucha Unburdened first, I mean, it doesn't even matter. So you might even not run Unburdened Hawlucha and just run like a substitute Hawlucha. With Weezing, it's still a really good... Okay. I like the nullifying. Like, if you got Intimidate on the other side, you nullify that stuff real quick. If you have anything like any sort of abilities like Surges, you take those away real quick. No terrains being set up. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't know if I would personally but spend an A tier for it. But definitely really good pick from the Boston Grand Bulls. Let's move on to the next pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Herkimer Dreadnoughts, and now it's the moment of truth. Nobody picked up Kingdra, so what would normally be the Politoed Kingdra set, you could do with Pelipper Kingdra right now, and do like double hurricanes as you're swirling around in the water. I think that's the pick. I think everybody knows that's going to be the pick. This team from the beginning has been a pure mono water type team. It seems like it's definitely going to take advantage of the rain. It's going to be scary, but we know it's going to be Kingdra. So let's go ahead and look at their pick and confirm that it is, in fact, Kingdra for the Herkimer Dreadnoughts. So Urshifu, Dreadnought, Kingdra, Pelipper. This is your team for the Herkimer Dreadnoughts as of today. Really good in the rain. You got to take care of that rain. And that's where the Weezing comes into play for Boston Grand Bulls before, because you take away that rain, and the team isn't as scary as it's still very scary, don't get me wrong, but not as scary because Pelipper can't set up the rain anymore. So Dreadnought's not as fast. And, you know, Kingdra isn't as fast because it doesn't have Swift Swim. So it's going to be very interesting. And then you can't guarantee Hurricane going off. So that's their team. Herkimer Dreadnoughts, if you can't cancel the rain, they're going to stomp all over you, basically. So very good pick from the Herkimer Dreadnoughts. Let's go ahead and move on to our next pick here. 1 minute on the clock for the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils now. They just drafted Politoed before. They have Politoed, they have Lapras, and they have Marshadow. So here, it's going to be very interesting to see what they go for. I don't necessarily think they're going for a rain team. S tier is still open for them. They have a lot of options to play with here. They could double down on the fact that Lapras is going to set up screens for you. They could double down on the Perish Trap. They could double down on rain. And honestly, they can go either way. Or they could pick up a Rangaroo and start instructing. But this being their last pick for today, let's go ahead and just jump right into what they picked, as the pick is already in. Dracovish. Okay, so no, there is no Tailwind, but you can still Scarf the Dracovish. Politoed sets up rain, and Lapras gives it some defenses with the... I like it. It gives it some defenses with the screens. So, the resonance, same thing. Really good pick. Dracovish is a really good pick. Water Absorb is not a concern. Seismitoad is still up there for Water Absorb purposes. But Freeze Dry with Lapras is still good, because if there's a Storm Drain Gastrodon, Lapras can just, you know, Freeze Dry. So again, really good picks here from the Cuernavaca Cyndaquils. This is their team for today. And let's move on to the next pick. We got 1 minute on the clock for the Lansing Leafeons as their final pick for today is going to kick off. And they have the Mewtwo Grimmsnarl and Excadrill combo. Again, they can do anything they want here. But like I've been saying before, terrains are also really good. They have Prankster already. They have Mewtwo. I think Mewtwo gets Expanding Force, does he? I believe almost all Psychic types get Expanding Force. But if you do get a terrain setter, Expanding Force hits both Pokemon at the same time. And if you have like screens up for Mewtwo, you don't have to worry about much. With that said, I don't know. Galvantula is still open if you want to pick up Galvantula. But the Lansing Leafeons are ready with their pick because they are on it. Let's go ahead and see what they drafted. Indeedee Male. So again, they did set up the terrain now. So they have terrain, they have Prankster, they have Mewtwo, they have Excadrill. I don't know what Excadrill does here right now. I might be missing something. But Indeedee, this Indeedee can use After You. So if it's built faster than Excadrill, you could After You the Excadrill if you want. Or if you want a slower Mon, you could After You that slower Mon. So he has the option to draft a slower Mon now, basically. But Indeedee, this Indeedee gets access to Trick Room, so he could also run a slower Mon later. This Indeedee gets access to the Psychic Terrain, so you could get expanding Force from Mewtwo and that Indeedee. And then Grimmsnarl with Prankster can always use the Prankster shenanigans. So again, I like this team roundup so far. I don't necessarily know what Excadrill does here, other than like try to set up or go for rock slides or something like that. But again, really good team comp so far here. I really do like it. Probably going to need to dig into something to deal with. I think that's why Excadrill's here. Like to go for rock slide on bugs, because bugs hit this team pretty hard. So it'll be interesting to see how they mitigate that issue later down the line. But for today, this is the Lansing Leafeons' team. Let's go on to the next pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Dashing Dittos. And again, this team that they have so far is very, very good. Just because you have Terrakion, Venusaur, and Whimsicott. Whimsicott just on a doubles team is always amazing. Venusaur taking advantage of the sun if you manually set it up with Whimsicott is amazing. And honestly, the fact that she has Venusaur and Whimsicott, Venusaur can't stab, quad, super effective, hit the Whimsicott, triggering its Focus Sash. So again, they got some good mons here. They could pick up like Ninetales, Alola. And the reason why I say that is because you could set up the Snow and set up screens and have a Fairy type now, which you already have with Whimsicott, of course. But what I mean by that is you could set up screens while you set up Tailwind with Whimsicott later. You know what I'm saying? So Ninetales could be a good pick here. I don't know what else would fit here. So we'll just go ahead and check since their pick is already in. Let's go ahead into the Dashing Dittos' final pick for today. And it is Torkoal. So they have the option to manually or automatically set up the sun. And they're taking that away. Nobody's drafted Charizard, so that's good. Nobody's drafted Charizard. So this Torkoal pick is actually clean for the Dashing Dittos. I like this pick a lot as well because that Torkoal Venusaur combo is great. That's awesome. You set up Torkoal, Venusaur together. The only thing with Torkoal is its speed, but that's just something we're gonna have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So if she can find somebody that could speed swap and like speed swap the Torkoal, so that then you could bring in Venusaur and then they're both fast. Anyways, let's go ahead. Let's move on to the next pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Copenhagen Canines as they have to pick their next and final pick for today, but their next pick, the 4th round pick. They have the team of Cinderace, Necrozma Duskmane, and Togekiss. They have a solid redirection with Togekiss. So an S tier Mon already taken, which is Togekiss. I don't know what they'd pair that with, honestly, just because having their little mishap with the Cinderace situation, I feel like that probably takes away from what they would have drafted originally. I wouldn't be opposed to them drafting a Arcanine to get Intimidate access. Intimidate access is always good. Honestly, I would draft Arcanine and then just swap out Cinderace if I were them. So that's my idea. I don't know necessarily what their plan is, but that's what I would do. So let's go ahead and see what they actually end up drafting here in their final pick for today, which is going to be Conkeldurr. So I believe Necrozma can set up its own Trick Room, if I'm not mistaken. And if that's the case, you lead Necrozma Togekiss, and then you have Trick Room set up because Togekiss hit Follow Me, and then Conkeldurr comes in and does damage as slow as it is. So that's an option there, maybe. I don't know. But again, Conkeldurr is really good. It gets access to Iron Fist and then a whole slew of fist moves, like punch moves. It also gets Mach Punch, so it gets that priority move. Which is always really good on Conkeldurr. You could always Assault Vest to Conkeldurr. You could always Choice Band the Conkeldurr if you wanted to. So again, Conkeldurr is a really good mon. nothing negative to say about it. Really good pick. I think because he has Cinderace, there's not that much of an issue with speed tiers, but if he does want to switch Cinderace out later, he might have to keep in mind speed tiers with the 4 that he has so far. Let's go ahead and move on to the next pick. 1 minute on the clock for the Honolulu Taros as we go into their final pick, and this is a Trick Room team. So we have a rain team, we have a screens team, we have another rain team that might perish trap you, and now this is the Trick Room team. So they have the Melmetal, they have the Indeedee, they have the Dusclops. I think they need speed, honestly. So I wouldn't be opposed to them going for a faster Mon here. Pick a Mon that's fast, something that you could speed swap with in case you have to speed swap, and go from there. You know, you can speed swap your Melmetal, and that way you don't have to just rely on it going for Trick Room. So again, speed swap might be an option here. I would probably go for like a Raichu, so that way you also have access to fake outs. And again, that's ultimately what I think they might pick here, because they've got the guaranteed Trick Room. So you got that set. So let's double down on something now. Not double down on Trick Room, but let's go for something now that can alter just that strategy into something else, or something that can guarantee your strategy. Maybe pick up Aroma Veil, not Aroma Veil, but Sweet Veil, Alcremie. Pick Alcremie as your Gigantamax. So let's go ahead and see what the Honolulu Taros picked. And they go for Clawitzer. So Clawitzer is a really good Mon. I don't know if I'd pick it yet, considering that they haven't picked a Gigantamax or picked an S tier. The thing with Clawitzer, it gets a Mega Launcher, I believe, right? It boosts Pulse moves, so Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, those moves like that are boosted. Heal Pulse heals half your HP, I believe, or three-fourths instead of half of your HP. So it pretty much almost heals entirely your HP. So Clawitzer is a really good Mon in that sense. And plus it gets Terrain Pulse. He has Indeedee, so Terrain Pulse makes it a Psychic type move coming off of Clawitzer, which is boosted because of the Terrain, and then boosted because of your... It's crazy. It's a good Mon. And then if you have Choice Specs, it's also really good. So Clawitzer is not that bad of a Mon. He just needs speed, so hopefully you pick some speed after this pick. But for today, this is the Honolulu Taros team. Hopefully by tomorrow they have this squared out a little bit better. Let's move on to the next 3 picks. With 1 minute on the clock, the Vancouver Corviknights have to add yet another dangerous Pokemon to their team. So this team is probably like the most hyper offensive one on this draft so far. They have the Zacian, they have the Urshifu Single Strike, and they have the Dragapult. They have really good speed, so I don't think they're too concerned about speed right now. They're probably just concerned to filling in gaps and potential holes right now. With that said, teams have drafted Mons like Dracovish, Kingdra, that paired with the other Mons that they have do really well. So I wouldn't be surprised if, because of those 2 teams specifically, Torn goes for Seismitoad or Gastrodon and tries to absorb those water attacks and water moves. Freeze Dry is an issue, however, except for the fact that you can't really hit some of the Mons on Torn's team really well with Freeze Dry. But again, I think that's what he's going for here, and I know for a fact that he's not going to go for it. So let's go ahead and check out which of the 2 Mons he drafted, however, and it's going to be Seismitoad. Like we said, he's probably concerned about the fact that you could Tailwind with the Pelipper and outspeed some of these Mons here, and then the fact that there's rain, Kingdra now hurricaning like crazy. Hurricane will do massive damage on Urshifu. Hurricane will still do massive damage on Dragapult, and the fact that Swift Swim is enabled on those 2 Mons, they might outspeed the Dragapult. And then Zacian is an issue, but I don't think it's too much of an issue considering that these Mons might be Choice Spec'd, rocking like Flash Cannon. Even Hurricane could do a lot of damage on Zacian regardless, or double team the Zacian. So again, Seismitoad is there probably for those water type teams. So again, it's a really good pick regardless, and he's also bulky, so I think it being bulky as it is, it's probably sometimes better than Gastrodon. So again, Seismitoad's a really good pick, and it was predictable basically, but it was a really good pick. All right, pick 4 for the New Jersey Brobats, and this team has the Eternatus, the Tyranitar, and I forgot what was Chandelure. So Gigantamax option maybe, S tier option maybe. It'll be very interesting to see what they go for here, because they definitely need something with, you know what I mean? Like, to make this team look a lot more dangerous than it is. Because don't get me wrong, Eternatus is really dangerous. The fact that that thing can Dynamax Cannon the Gigantamax tier is really powerful. And then its typing is just really good. Ground types are what hits it. You have the Tyranitar, you have the Chandelure there that also get hit by ground types. So again, I think probably something with Levitate. Something that can take that those ground hits fairly well would be something else. And honestly, they're running low on time here and they haven't submit their pick yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they put their pick in or not, because they will get skipped. And they actually do end up getting skipped. So I guess 1 minute on the clock, it's my turn. So they do get skipped. Again, you do get skipped if you miss your time. And the New Jersey Brobats just got skipped. They will make their pick right after I make my wheel pick. So I have 2 picks. For the sake of the draft today, we're just going to show you pick 4, and then tomorrow we'll show you we'll start with my 5th pick. So what we'll do is we'll show you pick 4, and then we'll show you the late pick for the New Jersey Brobats. So there's like a little bit of a mixed order there, but everybody's going to end with 4 Pokemon today. Don't worry about it. With that being said, I have the final pick for the Boston Red Claws today, and that pick is going to go right here. Scolipede. Now, the idea with Scolipede is I really wanted a bug type to deal with a lot of the psychic types that I've been looking at and just seeing develop. And this thing is really good on its own, but it also gives me a poison type. So I can also hit fairies fairly well. Magearna can do that with its steel typing, but Scolipede can do it with poison typing, of course. And I can also hit grass types, which there's some running around as well. Now with Scolipede, I really wanted to try it out. Basically, it has speed boost, and I could baton pass the speed. I just can't baton pass speed plus another stat. So I could also technically do that with Swords Dance. I could Swords Dance and then baton pass, or I can just play around with that however I want. I love Scolipede. I've never gotten a chance to use it. That's the idea there. It does kind of like creep up my speed tier a bit, which is what I'm trying to do, trying to recover my speed tier, because I always end up picking slow mons. So again, Scolipede is there because of that speed tier and the fact that speed boost helps me out a lot. With that said, let's go ahead and see if the New Jersey Brobats are going to draft or not. This time they have 30 seconds on the clock because they were late. So there's 30 seconds on the clock. The New Jersey Brobats need to make a pick or else they will be skipped again. It's going to be interesting. Maybe they just don't know what to pick. I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But again, they have 30 seconds to pick. It'll be very interesting to see. This is the last pick of the draft today. So hopefully, and they do, they got their pick in before the 30 seconds were up, so that's good. Let's go ahead and see what the New Jersey Brobats pick in their final and the final pick of today's draft. And it's going to be Ludicolo. So you guys will see the little late icon on the bottom right next to Ludicolo, letting you know that it was a late draft. So Ludicolo is there. I don't know how Ludicolo works here with this team necessarily, but the fact it does have Fake Out, it does benefit from other teams' water and their rain. So Ludicolo is good on that sense. Weakness policy Ludicolo is very annoying, actually, believe it or not. You can't Dynamax it though, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the New Jersey Brobats decide to use Ludicolo in a doubles format. Again, that's the team for the New Jersey Brobats today. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what's going to happen tomorrow here. So again, the draft today basically is almost complete. Those are the top 4 picks for every team so far. Hopefully you guys have been on it. Let me know what your favorite pick has been so far. These teams have been drafting not all over the place, because obviously a lot of teams are just like very dominant and know what they want from the beginning. But if I had to pick some of my favorite teams right now, just based off the first 4 Pokemon, I would say the Herkimer Dreadnoughts have a fantastic water team. I think the Cuernavaca Cynicals have a very varied team that is very scary as well, in the fact that they can do Perish Trap, they can run the rain, and you have this Dracovish just lurking in the back. And then Marshadow can just take any sort of stat boost that you got and just make you suffer for it. And then the Vancouver Corviknights probably have the scariest team of that super hyper offense that they've got going on, and now adding a little bit of bulk sprinkled on top with that Seismitoad. But those 3 teams right there look very menacing, very scary. Another good highlight pick would probably be the Minnesota Berserkers on how they have the Grassy Surge there, and then Crocodile to cover 2 areas that the rest of their team is somewhat weak to. But other than that, everybody's been drafting phenomenally. I'm very excited to see tomorrow and round things up for the rest of these picks. Tomorrow, it'll be a hyper slideshow thing where we're just going through the picks one by one, and talking about them real quick if we have anything to say. So, with that being said, make sure you guys are picking up merch that would be supporting the NAACP. And that's pretty much it for today's draft, guys. I'll catch you guys again tomorrow, and hopefully we draft some good stuff. I don't know if we do. I do, but I don't. Anyways, catch you guys tomorrow for part 2 of the ABL Season 4 draft, the doubles format draft league. Until next time, my name is Chris Shaka. This has been the draft for you guys, the Amateur Battle League. Thanks you so much for being here. And remember to do your part. Until tomorrow, peace.